welcome una to another ogbonge lesson, another ogbonge video wey we carry come today. Today video na about how to make our basic bodice princess dart. Na we wan learn today. So this princess dart na the armhole princess dart, and na today we wan learn that lesson. So the first thing wey we go do na to take our basic measurements. The basic measurements for this lesson today na the shoulder measurements, the bust measurements, the hip measurements, the bodice length, that is the length of the blouse, the nipple to nipple measurements, the shoulder point measurements, and our armhole measurements. So if una ready, make we start now. And the tools wey we dey use na our straight ruler, curved ruler, scissors, and tape measure. So na the tools wey we go need be that. The first thing wey we go need to do na to outline the measurements. As we don talk say the measurement wey we don already list the measurement wey we need. So if we wan fold our material, the first thing wey we go need to do na to determine the biggest part of the body part. So the biggest part of the body part for this particular pattern na the hip measurement, and the hip measurement na 40. So 40 divided by 4, 10. So we go use 10 take mark our bodies. So for this bodies wey we dey draft, so we no go add seam allowance. I no wan add seam allowance, so make we just indicate the front bodies. When we dey draft for the main fabric, we go come add the seam allowance. Then you connect, use ruler, your long ruler. Connect them just to demarcate. Then the next thing na to insert our horizontal measurement. Sorry, our vertical measurements. That's on this side. The first one na the bust point measurement, will be 10 inches. The second one na the under bust measurement, will be 13 inches. The fourth na the waist measurement, will be 16 inches. Then the length of the bodies na 22. Then be the length of the bodies. So 22, we don't indicate that one there. So we'll come here to get straight line. 10, 13, 16, and 22. So we'll connect the lines together. So make we just indicate bust point, under bust, waistline, and then the hip. And the hip I want to make the bodies end. So the next thing we go do now to insert our shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement na 15 divided by 2, 7.5 inches. So we'll indicate that one here. Then we'll come here for the shoulder slope by 1 inch. Then we'll come insert our neck measurement. So the neck measurement na standard na 3 by 3. That's 3 inches wide, 3 inches low. But for this pattern, we will use 3.5 by 3.5 inches. So we'll use 3.5 for the width and 3.5 for the depth. Then we'll use our straight ruler connector. So we go come use our this curved ruler take curve out the armhole. The neckline. Then we'll connect this neck point to this shoulder slants. This 1 inch shoulder slants. Then for the shoulder measurements, for this shoulder area now, we will add our joining allowance for top here. We'll just add ½ inch for joining allowance here like this. And then we'll come here, add another ½ inch for joining allowance, so that we no go dey short. As we no go dey short for this side. So the next thing we want to do is to create the armhole line. The armhole line for this particular pattern na half of the shoulder measurements, and half of the shoulder measurements is 7.5 inches. So The next thing na to create the armhole curve. So the armhole curve na we go measure this line by 2. Measure this line, divide them into 2 equal halves. So now here, then we go come in by ½ inch. So just come in here by ½ inch. Connect the line here. So the next thing is to insert our bust measurement, will be 36 divided by 4, 9 inches. So now here be 36. Then we go use our armhole curve, connect this point to the line. See, very simple and straightforward. The next thing we want to do now to insert the dart. So to get the dart, now the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and the nipple to nipple measurement now 7 divided by 2, which is 3.5 inches. So we'll indicate that one here. So we'll use our ruler, connect them. Then for this point, we'll come up by 2 inches. Then from the bust point, we'll come down by 1 inch. Then to get the curve, the curve where we go insert here, we go need to minus the under bust measurement, the bust measurement minus the under bust measurement divided by 2. So the bust measurement na 36, the under bust measurement na 29. So 36 minus 29 na 6 inches. Divided by 2, 3.5. So 3.5 go dey this side, and then half go dey this side. Okay, so we'll come down here by 1 inch. Then for the waist line, you take 1 inch for this side, 1 inch for this side, and then we'll go take, so you see, 1 inch, then ½ inch or 1 inch on both sides. Let's just take 1 inch on both sides. So we'll connect the lines together. Then from this armhole, we'll measure the armhole line. So 8 divided by 2 will be 4. So now the midpoint be this. Then from this midpoint, we'll come down by 1 inch. So this 1 inch here, we'll connect them to this point. So from here, we'll take 1/2 inch for both sides. 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. Then we'll come up by 1 inch. Connect. So that is it. The next thing we want to do now to recreate this armhole line. So you know, say we take 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, which is 1. So we'll come up here by 1 inch. So we'll extend this line by 1 inch. By 1 inch. Then add them back for this side too. That is the dart leg what we take. Then we will recreate the armhole. So this now is the new armhole for this pattern. Then here we will blend out this sharp curve. So very simple and very easy to make. So now be this now. We don't already redraft them. Then now to create the side seam. So the side seam now, the bust now 9 inches divided by 36 divided by 4. That is 9. So now the 9 be this. Then we don't recreate this bust here. So now here the bust line now. Our new bust line now here. Now it go start. So this one and the new bust line. Then we'll come here. The under bust now 29 divided by 4. 29 divided by 4, that's 7.8. That's 7.8. 7 3/4. So we'll just include them here. Plus this that allowance here, 1 inch that allowance. So we'll add them here. Then the next thing na to insert this waist dart. So the waist already we get 1 2, we don't remove 2 inches. The waist na 30 divided by 4, 7.5 inches, plus 2 inch dart, which is 9.5 inch. So we'll add them back here. Remember I said we know they add sewing allowance for this pattern. So the hip measurement now 40 divided by 4, which is 10. So now to connect all our lines together. So now see, very easy and very straightforward pattern. So now when we want cut, now from here we'll just cut this. So this is it. Now to cut. Then also remember to blend out these sharp curves for these sides. So for here we could blend out this sharp curve. This curve and curve we did. Then here just come up by 1 inch and here by either 2 inches. Then just connect them or use your so that the thing no go dey full for the sides. And we go cut the pattern. So this pattern they're very beginner friendly. Alright, so here we go, my people. You see, I cut out this. Very easy and very straightforward pattern. Now we create so you see. So shortage no go dey when we attach the pattern together. So everything will just align properly. It's supposed to do. So this now we create so you see. So shortage no go dey when we attach the pattern together. So everything will just align properly. It's supposed to do. Okay, so we don't draft the front parts finish and we don't cut them. See, like this today. So the thing now to do the back side. So once you don't leave zip allowance 1 inch, just put them for another pattern paper, but so that this video no go too long, and because of paper we no go, because na paper we dey use, we no go too cut them out. So the next thing where you go do, just put them, make sure say you cover this bust point, make sure say these 2 lines they covered. See, just cover am like this. Make sure say the bust points align, the bust points align, the under bust points too align. See, all the lines align together. So just trace out the armhole, trace out the armhole, the side seams, and the zip allowance, just trace them out. But for the back zip, unless say the style where you want make, you want modify am to make your own style, so the back neckline go dey higher than the front. The front we use 3.5 inches, so for the back if you use 1 inch or 1.5 inch. So just connect am like this. Use your tape, hold am down so that e no go move or e no go shake. So just connect am like this, connect am, and then cut. Just cut out back, then they connect the armhole and everything. So we don dey okay. So na the end of this video be that. If this video dey helpful to you, help me like, share and subscribe. And if you get any question, feel free to ask me. Feel free to let me know your mind, your suggestions, and any other thing wey you know say go fit move this channel forward. Thank you. I will see you now for the next video. Bye bye.